Hey there, gamers. DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about PlayStation because the CEO of PlayStation has just gotten ousted. He's gone. He's demoted. He's basically fired from his job, it sounds like. But let's talk about this because I got to admit that the leaving of Hermen Hulst, the expulsion of Hermen Hulst, as it kind of seems like, people are very, very happy about it. I do feel like PlayStation fans, third-party fans, everybody seems to be kind of unhappy with the pace of PlayStation. And this shakeup, I mean, it can only be a good thing. But let's talk. I hope you're having a great day. And if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If I sound drowsy, I apologize. I have the surgery in 24 hours and I'm not allowed to have any caffeine before it. So here we go. Breaking. Hermen Hulst is no longer the co-CEO of PlayStation. Now, as a lot of y'all will remember, back in 2023, the previous president of PlayStation was Jim Ryan, a dude that was very, very hated because he didn't really seem to understand the gaming aspect of PlayStation. He was good at commercials and bundle deals, and he's definitely sold a lot of PlayStation 4s, but if you ask that guy to play Spider-Man or anything like that, I mean, clearly he wasn't the kind of guy for that. So a lot of people were excited when it was announced that Hermen Hulst was going to be the co-CEO because this is a dude that's been designing games. He worked his way up the ladder. He's a dude who ran Guerrilla Games for a long time. He made the most successful PlayStation games of all time, Horizon Zero Dawn. But when he started to get any amount of power, it seemed like suddenly he just honestly greenlit billions of dollars of live service games, all of which are now canceled. A lot of the stuff that he thought was the future of PlayStation is never even going to see the light of day. So it seems like he's been demoted, and his co-partner, the guy he was working as a co-CEO with, Hideaki Nishino, he's taking over by himself. Now, this dude, from everything we've heard, he's much more of the tech side. He is a guy that understands the inner workings of PlayStation, about how they make new hardware, and maybe there are those rumors about a PlayStation handheld. Maybe they're putting him in charge because they want to make sure that as we maybe get another generation of Xbox, if we start getting the Nintendo Switch 2 and stuff, they want to have a guy who's ready to adapt to maybe different styles of PlayStation being needed in the future. But here we go. Hermen Hulst is staying on as the head of PlayStation Studios and will continue to lead development, publishing, and business operations. Now, this basically means he's going back to his previous job. He is literally being downranked back to what he's previously doing. Now, a lot of people are calling this a demotion of the Shuhei Yoshida variety. There was a dude who was in charge of PlayStation for years, and whenever they started to have the really bad dip during the PlayStation 3, because obviously it was $600 at launch, they demoted Shuhei Yoshida. A lot of people think this is sort of a Shuhei Yoshida thing, where they're like, all right, you're not bad enough that we're going to kick you out of the company, but yeah, buddy, you're no longer holding the pin. So a lot of people that were like, hell yeah. This means they're going to keep pushing Horizon vegetables on us. I find it interesting that pretty much everybody was like, man, this is fantastic. Sony is dead. No one says anything. They already shut down. So a lot of high tensions. But I find stuff that a lot of people are basically being like, bro, Concord, I mean, basically every interview, everybody has gone on the record and said that Hermen Hulst greenlit Concord. The $400 million that went down the drain, that was directly because of Hermen Hulst and pretty much nobody else. It also says that Bluepoint, which made the amazing Demon's Souls remake, they were working on a live service God of War, which is now canceled. Sony Bend just missed this entire generation because they were working on random filler content that Hermen Hulst personally really wanted to push. It's interesting watching everybody kind of go, you know what? This had to happen. Jim Ryan said some very stupid stuff in his time. Jim Ryan said nobody wants to play old games. Nobody likes retro stuff. It doesn't matter. Only new games matter. And a lot of people ended up really turning against Jim Ryan at the end. So it's funny that Hermen Hulst, who basically trained beneath Jim Ryan for a decade, takes over and then immediately starts greenlighting a bunch of projects as well that nobody really wants. Jim Ryan and Hermen Hulst gone good. The pretending that they were good CEOs was pathetic. Get the company out of California and go back to Japan and get back to business. I have seen some people say that they did like the way that Japan is still such a big market for the Nintendo Switch, I've seen some people say that if they move it back to Japan primarily, like this guy's being short and sweet about it, but I have seen some people say that a lot of the development costs, a lot of the longer production schedules, a lot of that stuff is just because apparently that's how they make games. In the US, we make games over the course of like 6 years, whereas in Japan, they're still good about making 3-year games. I'm not sure it's that easy of a short and sweet answer, but it is interesting that people are saying that. Happy PlayStation has a Japanese CEO and can hopefully focus on the Japanese market more than before, handheld hardware too. Now, Genkai, this dude, I love his account because he lives in Japan. He goes and gets the chance to meet a lot of these big people. He also finds all sorts of interesting pop-up booths and stuff like that. So I'm always curious to see his takes on this. And so the fact that he's being like, yeah, man, I'm glad that this guy is being elevated to the sole CEO. Hermen Hulst is no longer there. So I think this is a good sign. So basically, Hulst is back to his position as the head of PlayStation Studios. That's amazing news for PlayStation. I hope the new CEO will clean up the mess Hermen Hulst made in the past months and put PlayStation back on the right track. Yes, he's back to PlayStation first party just like before. This is it. Look at this. They actually fired Hulst. Well, not fired. He's just stepping back to head his previous position. I'll admit that this is shocking to me just because of the timing. I mean, this must have been in the pipe for a very long time. Maybe I'm overestimating, but I think to announce that you're stepping down, oh my God, this is bad. Putting your freaking Concord on your gravestone. Oh, I think that them doing this directly after the reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2, doing this while there's talks about the end of Xbox, I do think this is a firing. I do not think this was optional. I do truly believe in my heart of hearts that Sony sees the rumblings. There's talks about the fact that Sony, Microsoft, a lot of these companies know what the other people are up to just because they kind of talk about release dates and stuff to each other. I think that Sony knew the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be a giant. It's going to be a juggernaut. The Nintendo Switch 2 is going to freaking rock the industry, and I definitely stand by that. But I think it is interesting to me that I almost think it kind of signals that that they're like, okay, we're just going to sit back. We're gonna figure this out. We want to be ready to adapt to what comes next, because if the Nintendo Switch 2 blows up, we want to have a hardware guy that's able to quickly adapt and not have a co-CEO, or if Xbox suddenly does just go completely third party and starts making tons of Valve boxes and stuff like that, we want to have a hardware guy who's able to adapt quicker to the industry than, well, talking to Concord Hermen Hulst about what to do next. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts. How do you guys feel about this? And if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to do a video about, they just released Dino Crisis on PC, the way they did like the retro collection for the Resident Evil bundle. So I'm going to talk about that next video today. I love you all a bunch.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.